Welcome to this episode of the Voices for Voices TV show and podcast. I am your host, founder, and executive director of Voices for Voices, Justin Allen Hayes. Thanks for joining us. Uh, we are excited to bring some off cycle episodes to you. And this episode, we're going to talk about uh, another, let's say, stigmatized topic, and that is suicide. So, not glamorous, but it happens. Happens to people. Happens to people whether they're on the lower end of the socioeconomic side of things, or if they are on the higher. So suicide knows no boundaries. It happens, and it unfortunately is just a part of society that has really just crept up on us, the last 5, 10, 15 years. Very, very difficult. So we're going to touch on a couple of higher profile suicides, and then we're going to talk about what impact that could have on children. So we're not just going to read the news. We're going to talk a little bit about how that affects children, and how do we even talk to children about that if heaven forbid that were to occur in any of our lives. So just over a year ago, Stephen Twitch Boss, very successful at the time. He was a DJ. He was on popular daytime TV shows, and by all accounts, was living a great life, or so we thought. And so him and his wife, children, they reside in California, and the given day that this event was really came through, we're talking about in December of 2022. So it's a couple years old, but very relevant to our discussion here today. So this day started like many days, I would suppose. If anybody in Stephen Twitch Boss life were to be asked, he took off, wasn't answering his phone at a certain point of the day. His wife said this was very unexpected, where he just left, and so she began to try to contact him, as we all would. We would be trying to reach that individual however we could, and so she was trying to reach him on the phone. Was not getting any responses, and so she reached out to the cops, and it was really adamant about, this isn't like my husband, to not answer the phone. He left without warning, and again, all that communication stopped. So no telephone, no text, no email, nothing. And so this all happened. The LAPD, Los Angeles Police Department, reported Stephen missing And then law enforcement, came uh, came back to the house to do just a brief check of the property, if there's any video or clues to where he had gone. Uh, his wife, again, was adamant that this was not like her husband, and officers were, again, they listed him as a missing person, but apparently there's different levels, and they were considering listing him as a critical missing person. And so his wife Allison uh, contacted the cops, uh, and I guess it was a little bit after that communication that there was a 911 call that came through, and that was saying that her husband, Stephen Twitch Boss, body had been discovered at a motel, which was less than a mile away from the home, and that, this, for all intents and purposes, on the outside, looked like a successful individual. However we want to look at that, uh, that he had died by suicide, a self-inflicted gunshot wound. So when staff of the hotel was asked about one of their residents, uh, and they had mentioned that this individual, Stephen, he checked in on a given day. He just had a small bag with him, no heavy duty suitcase, uh, with wheels, just a small bag, and he had just booked one night, a single night. They, being the staff, said that they didn't seem to think that he was visibly upset or under any stress out of the ordinary, which, we try to understand these types of things, what led up to these particular events, these particular experiences. And so staff's being questioned, and when he was, is what prompted the staff to reach out, and then prompted them to reach out via 911 and report the body, was that Stephen didn't check out on time. So then that's what led the staff to look into what's going on. Is there something happening that caused him not to check out on time? And so now we know that there was, and so yeah, that was a self-inflicted gunshot wound. Celebrity passed away with a wife, children, and here we are, right? So we just, we're kicking off 2025, and his wife is, being asked and commenting on, because again, suicide is a large cause of many deaths, and so the topic comes up, and Allison, his wife, widow now, being asked about, how do you talk to the kids? How do you share that information? We'll not get into specifics of how the news was broken to the children. She says that, the kids still don't understand, they don't realize that their dad's not coming home. He's not he's not gonna, ring the doorbell, knock on the door, or just walk in the door and give them a hug and a kiss, and you'll go back to how life had been prior to the incident. And so that has to affect, right, the children's mental health, because that's trauma, right? Taking a situation that was, albeit normal, you know, mother, father, and children's lives, and then lifting one of those pieces out, being their father. And so the questions of where is he? He'll come home today or tomorrow or a different day, and it's tough for children. I mean, it's tough for adults. It's tough, to talk through situations like this, or when anybody passes in a family, regardless of how that is. Share this story, right? We're very transparent with our organization, myself as the leader, the founder. We know that my father passed last March, and so that was, and still is, it's tough. And I'm 43 years old, and it's tough to still go through, wait, like I can be able to reach out to him tomorrow, or what would have you. And so it's hard for me. And so this story was late last year, and my wife and I, as well as a lot of families do, they like to include their grandparents when possible. And so my dad was my daughter, or still is. He's passed, but my mom and dad are grandparents to my wife and I's daughter. And so again, he passed last March. Time was going on, and last year, and there was a day where my mom had asked, we reached out and said, hey, would you want to come watch our daughter's ballet class or gymnastics class? Can't remember exactly which one. She's very active. So my mom comes to our house, get in the car, and my mom's phone rings. And before my mom answered the phone, my daughter said, "Oh, is Pappy calling?" That's what we call my dad, Alma for my mom, and Pappy for my dad. And here she is thinking like, "Oh, is that Pappy calling?" And that just was hard for my mom to be there, and that. But then when she shared with me, it just kind of like broke my heart again, because in her mind, as we are talking about the suicide of Stephen Twitch Boss and his wife, and then children, and how the wife, not widow, is trying to share with the children, and children are asking questions of them still not sure, or them still not, them still thinking that someday their dad's gonna, again, just like walk into the door, show up, uh, and then we go on our way in a positive light. And so I relate that to my story, where when my dad passed, uh, it again still shell shocks me now, and think about I miss him every day, and it's hard. Again, I'm 43 years old, and it's hard to go through. And so to have my daughter being in the car with my mom's phone rings, and for my daughter to say, "Oh, is Pappy calling?" Uh, talk about levels of understanding that she understands on a certain level. He's in heaven, but also thinking that, hey, if Alma's phones are ringing, maybe Pappy's calling to say hi. And that was on top of another story where, when we were sharing the news about my dad's passing, my daughter had we're going to my mom and dad's house one day, and my daughter said, "Oh, well, which Pappy's in heaven, so which door is that? We'll go to wherever that is. We'll go to where, what door he's in now, where his room is." And again, that, I mean, still affects me, to have the knowledge, and to have her just so innocently, asking, like, "Oh, well, we'll just, okay, Pappy's in heaven. What door is that? Where can we go see him at?" So again, now my father didn't pass by suicide. Where the story where we kicked off this episode, the father, Stephen Twitch Boss, did die by suicide. It very, very parallel paths of his children, and then my daughter, my wife and I's daughter, regarding my dad. And so I know that is affecting my daughter about my dad's passing. I'm not a psychiatrist or caseworker, social worker. I don't know how that manifests itself and how it will continue to manifest itself. But it's affecting my mental health. Everybody's at some degree. So I know it's affecting my daughters. So when we talk about the suicide of this celebrity who seemed to have it all, the mental health of the children on top of the mental health of the widow is definitely something to just to think about. We go through life, there's so many things, right? We wake up and, okay, I got to do this task, and then once I do A, then I got to do B. Once I do B, I got to do C. Once I do C, I got to do D. And we all I guess speaking for my experience, at least for me, it's like this, but like this rat race. So, we're doing things, we're doing things. Uh, but then when we strip it down to the human body, the human nature, that's we talk about we need to eat, we need rest, we like shelter, security. Uh, there's certain foundational aspects that we talked about with Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Just as human beings, there's things that we search for and we yearn for us to be able to continue on just living life. So then when we get to the point of relationships, families, interactions, life, my daughter being born in 2018, and my dad with my mom, and we're there, and so now we're looking at pictures, and with my dad, and instead of having him in person, and I'm not the only one that has lost a loved one, and not trying to say I am. I'm just trying to share my experience and how something that's affecting us as an adult could also be affecting children, even older children, right? As we've all been small, we've grown up, at least age wise, right? We have events, experiences that happen, and then we kind of react. We try to control or impact as many things as we can to have a good thought about what the outlook and what the result or the outcome might be. But there's some things we just call accidents, or things that just are outside of our control. So as much as we try to do that for our children, protect them, we do the best we can. And so when there's a shift to their world, our world, family member passes, relationship ends, starts, those things are very, on different levels, traumatic. Some a lower level, some at a higher level. So that's why I brought up this story, because I had the parallel with those two experiences. My mom's phone ringing and my daughter saying, "Oh, it's Pappy calling," and then the other experience with, "Oh well, Pappy's in heaven. We'll visit him, and we'll just go to the door that he's at now, and we'll knock on that door, and Pappy will open the door and welcome us in." And so how that has impacted my daughter, myself, my wife, my mom, my sister, my nephews, my brother-in-law, people kind of in our inner family, close family, call it. It's impacted us, and it's going to continue to impact us. So the goal of this episode is really to show empathy wherever we can. Mental health, suicide still has the stigma. Still has the stigma to even talk about. So when I come out, I'm talking about, I'm so transparent and sharing and very detailed and experiences and the trauma and the events. there are people that are, I'll say, like, against it, but we want to sweep that under the rug. We don't want to talk about that. But we're all working through that at some at some level, with varying degrees of success. So the stigma's still there. So if you or someone, getting to back to the, not even just the suicide part, but if you or somebody you know is, working through and dealing with struggling in crisis, know that help is available. In the last year or so, uh, we have been, and now we are still able to. We are able to call or text the number 988, or we can chat if that is our choice at 988 lifeline.org. O-R-G. So that's 988 lifeline, LIFELINE.org. Uh, there is there's help. There are people that want to help, and if you think that I just want to check out, that, just know that there's more for all of us to do. There's a reason why we're on Earth right now, and it's not just the rat race thing that I was talking about. Like, okay, once I do 1,000 tasks, then that's my time on Earth. Uh, there's got to be, right. There's got to be a bigger reason. So whether you believe or don't believe, there is some higher power, some force out there that is using us for the greater good, and it's not just to send another email or uh, fill out a form, or go grocery shopping. There's things that we do on a day-to-day basis, but when we take a step back and look at our lives just in general, I mean, even for me, like, why am I alive? Why am I still here? There's so many things that I've done and made poor decisions, and I still continue, even I try to do better, still don't always make the best decisions. So there's got to be a reason why I'm on Earth still, and why I'm in front of you on over 160 episodes and counting of this Voices for Voices TV show and podcast. Or if you're listening, whether you're watching or whether you're listening, or you've read one of the books I've written, The House of You, or if you purchase some of our merchandise, like we got our new military shirts and military green, which look absolutely awesome. You can find all that at voicesforvoices.org, and then at the top of the top right of the screen, you'll be able to toggle down to our shop, and we have a lot of merchandise. And it's not about us making money. It's about just helping as many people as possible share their voice, because we all have a voice. And I have this, again, that huge goal of helping 3 billion people over the course of my lifetime and beyond. And so whether you see somebody in a supermarket or out at a ball game or an event, just know that we're all in this together. We're all living life together. We don't know what is in store for us, but it's important because we're still here. So join us on our next episode